Hey guys, this is Jerry Fetta, owner, founder, and CEO of the Wealth Dynamics brand, coming to you today with Thursday Thoughts. Okay, so I'm gonna be giving you some interesting viewpoints because I have a very specific expertise on commenting about royalty. So we're gonna talk about King Charles, okay, the new guy in England, the new kid. He's like 73, but he's the new kid. We're gonna talk about him, and we're gonna talk a little bit about what's going on with that, what my thoughts are on him being appointed as king. We're going to talk a little bit about the queen. I think her name was Elizabeth. Like I said, I'm very expert on these topics. But we're going to talk a little bit about that as well and what that has to do with your wealth, right? Because it has something to do with your wealth, even if you don't live in Britain, right? If you're over here in the US or you're somewhere else, it's got something to do with it. I have a special deal for you today, only for those that watch the video. You need to comment, and you also need to share this with someone else that you think will think this is funny, okay? That's my goal, okay? So without further ado, let's get into today's Thursday Thoughts. All right, so we're back with Thursday Thoughts today. So King Charles got, I guess, appointed. I don't know what they would call it. It wasn't an election. I don't think people voted for him to be king. Because that's kind of the point of not having a king, is you're supposed to vote and then that's who you pick. But this guy was appointed as the King of England, right? Now, there's all this news coverage. I was working out in the gym and there was something about some kind of religious pope or priest from Tampa that was involved in the ceremony. So there's a lot of attention being put on that, and there's a new king in England. So guys, I just want to remind you, we're in the year 2023. We don't have kings. Right? Like the whole point of America, we broke away from England because we didn't want to have a king. Okay, and then England now has a prime minister and like a House of Commons and all this different stuff because they didn't want to have one guy running everything. So why in the world are we still doing the king thing? Right? Now, I'm not from England. I've never been to England. I hope to visit one day. I think you guys are awesome over there. But like, enlighten me on why we have this going on, right? We look at the world today and we have all this, politically correctness. The bad guy in the politically correct stories, I'm going to go ahead and just spill the beans if you didn't know. The bad guy often in the politically correct in the stories when it involves race and stuff is old white men, right? And that's kind of like an old system, right? We talk about like the patriarchy and okay, well, why are we electing a 73-year-old? We didn't elect, again, I keep using the wrong word because I'm so used to freedom. We keep appointing old white men to be kings. Like, when are we going to have a black dude in there? When are we going to have a woman in there? And why are we doing kings and queens still, right? I found out, actually, if you live in England, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but you pay taxes to the royal family for your property. Not to the government, to the royal family, like the queen and the king. Like, they actually collect money, I think it's on an annual basis or a monthly basis, from anyone that lives in England that owns property, right? Which would entitle them to ownership of all the land. Why else would I pay someone else to live in my own house, right? And that one never goes away. So imagine, like, in the US, like if we were like, okay, cool, we're a free country, and we kind of have this a little bit actually in the last couple of years. We're a free country, everyone is equal rights. But imagine if we still had like remnants of slavery. It wouldn't be okay. We'd look at that and be like, yeah, no, we got rid of that a long time ago for a good reason. And the little bits that are still there where there might be, racism and stuff, we handle that pretty intensely in this country, right? So, we have that here where we're like, no, we're not doing that. We're cutting that system off. We're not okay with it. We won't even do it for show. Like, it's not even like, oh, it's a tradition. We're like, no, that's wrong. We don't do that anymore. Okay, so in my opinion, a king was a wrong thing, right? If they were good, we'd still have them. Right now, instead, we've got governments where we elect people. The citizens have a say, right? And if you study the history of kings and queens, usually in the British Empire, they weren't always good. Like, we're talking like beheadings and wars and all sorts of interesting things because you've got the entire political view of a country based on what's happening between one person's ears. Okay, let me tell you what I've learned in my 30 years. Most people are freaking crazy, right? And let me share with you just how crazy they are. If I woke up one morning and you were like, Jerry, we want to make you king. And I'm like, what do you mean, of what? And they're like, of an entire country. And the country actually does have politicians and they have a elected, government system, but we want to make you king. And every single person in the country, if they live in a house and own real estate, they're going to have to pay you money for the rest of their lives because you're entitled to money for their real estate. and we're going to give you a crown and a ceremony, and you're going to live in a castle. Like, don't get me wrong, I would be flattered. But what kind of self-perception do I have to say yes to that? Like, imagine like this guy's 73 years old and he actually was like, yes, I'm going to be a king and I'm going to rule everybody. Like, that's how much this guy thinks of himself, right? Like a normal person, if I came to you and I was like, hey, I want you to be a king or a queen, you'd be like, no thanks, right? Like you would just, it's like almost like the imposter syndrome. You'd be like, I don't think I'm cut out for that. I don't have a desire to rule people. This guy was like, yes, I do. I definitely do. I want you to put a crown on my head like I just had a birthday at McDonald's, and I want to stand in front of everyone and be praised, and I want to live in a castle, and I want to collect money on their real estate for the rest of my life. And this guy was like, I'm game, I'm down, right? Now, here's the thing that bothered me about this is the amount of attention that's being put on it. Okay, it doesn't matter, guys. This is an old white Kardashian. That's the equivalent of what this is. It's the same thing. Right? It's attention-getting celebrities. Like, and the guy didn't even do anything important. Like, literally, we're celebrating him because of where his body came from. Your body has the same bloodline as this body 3 or 4 generations ago. That must mean you're special. In my opinion, that goes against everything we stand for today. Okay, I'm about earning your stripes. I'm about starting from the bottom up. I'm about, building your own path, making your own way. I'm not about entitlement. Okay, now if I'm, let's say I have generational wealth and I'm like, I want to pass this down to my heirs, that's one thing, because I built that. That's mine. It's like I have a house and I want my kids or I want my charity or my church to inherit that because it's mine and I paid for it and I earned it myself, right? That's my assets. It's different where you're like, because of who you're related to, you're going to get a cut of everyone else's assets. Like, why? And it also begs the question, what happens if I say no? Right? What if I'm like, no, I don't want to pay a king or a queen property taxes every single year because I live in a land that, 400 years ago, their families ruled and controlled, right? Why are we validating that system still? What happened if I say no? Do I go to jail? Do I get fined? Like, I would like to know what the repercussions are. If you could drop those in the comments, I'd love to find that out, right? But here's the other thing. Nobody gives a crap. Like, I saw a video from a guy named Alex Hormozy, got some great content out there, and he was talking about the Queen. The Queen died, I think, like last year or the year before, something like that. I'm proving my point with my lack of knowledge on timeline here. And until this video, until the king thing happened, you probably never once thought of her, right? She wasn't important enough to remember. Okay, same thing with, let's bring up another one, Robin Williams. Awesome comedian, great actor. Until I just said this, I bet you hadn't thought about Robin Williams in a very long time. So when you die, his point was no one else is going to think about you anymore. You're gone. Okay, they're going to do your funeral. Some people are going to come, some people aren't. No one's going to care after that. And so the amount of importance that we're placing on these individuals, that after they're no longer here, we're not even going to think about them anymore, right? We're not going to think about who is the king and the queen and then this. Instead, what I would encourage you to do is put your attention on your own family and your own life, your own finances, your own personal health, your own well-being, your own, personal development, your business, your job, the things that actually matter, because the reality is once you're no longer around, those things won't matter anymore. And the reason they matter right now is because you're here. And instead of putting attention on, some old 73-year-old guy who's getting a Burger King crown this week, I would rather have you put your attention on, how do I improve my income? Okay, how do I get rid of my debt? How do I save more money? Okay, how do I, protect my family's financial well-being? How do I create a future? Right? Because the reality is if anyone's going to be a king or a queen, it should be you, and it should be in your own life. And you should be the one that's like, okay, if I'm a king or I'm a queen, what's my kingdom look like right now? Okay, and that's the other thing. Like, I don't know how this all works over in the UK, but from what I understand, they're in just as much trouble as we are. From a financial standpoint, I don't think that they're doing great. They probably have budget deficits like we do. They probably have debt like we do here in the US. So if you're a king by title, but you're not actually taking responsibility for improving the lives of the people in the nation, like, for me, I have disdain for that. It's like if I was a CEO of a company, it's kind of like being a king in a company in a sense, except for I actually built the company and hired the people. It wasn't given to me. I guess that's a main difference, right? But let's say it was the same. It would be like me saying, I want to collect income from the company, and I'm not going to improve the lives of my employees. I want to be worshipped. I want to be given admiration. I want to be crowned. I want to be admired. And for that, in exchange, I'm just going to take. I'm going to take. I'm not giving. I'm not improving. I'm not looking to expand people. I'm looking at just how do I maintain my little thing. And then here's the final thing I'm going to end on. This dude's 73. What's the point? right? We have like 4 more years left with this guy. He's probably going to be out. There's going to be a new one. Like, you know, why are we like, if we're going to do this, let's pick someone younger. Let's pick someone that's like in their 30s or 40s. So it's like, okay, cool. We got to be paparazzis for this dude for the last 30 years, not like he had 2 months and then he was done, right? We're just going to pick another, and we keep doing this with old people, right? We didn't learn our lesson on the queen, apparently, right? The king is the next one. So, and the young ones, I forget the prince and the princess, they had the right idea. They're like, let's get the hell out of here. They moved to Canada, I think. Like, they were just like, let's get out of the system, right? So I know this video was a little bit different, but it is a current event that I thought was very funny, very interesting. Now, since you watched this, you put up with me for the last 5 or 10 minutes on my viewpoints on royalty. And again, I am a self-proclaimed royalty expert. I'm a political expert too. Anything I decide I'm an expert on, I'm going to be an expert on, and you'll know about it, right? And I expect a crown for this as well, for the video. So if you could mail that to me, that would be great. And I would like it before I'm age 73 years old. Thank you very much. But I'm going to give you a free access to a promo here. If you watch this full video and you comment below and you say #royalty, we want to give you a free arena bootcamp ticket. Okay, so this is going to be on June 3rd from 1 p.m. to 7 p.m. We've got 7 great speakers planned out. Actually, I think it's 6. It's 6 or 7. We've got 6 or 7 great speakers planned out. We released already Ivan Ans. He's the youngest family office founder in the world. We've released already Manuel Suarez, one of the top digital marketers in the U.S. We released Brenna Fox, top fitness industry influencer. So the next one is a personal partner of mine, one of my very greatest mentors. This guy has been a top business consultant all over the world, internationally. He's spoken in over 30 countries. He's got a TV show that aired on 52 different stations. He's worked with Microsoft, Bank of America, you know, Nestle, like all these really high-level companies as a business consultant, guys, for like 4 decades, right? He's old enough to be a king in England, but instead he built his own kingdom. And so we're going to be releasing his name as a speaker pretty soon. So if you do the comment, #royalty in the comments, we'll reply. We'll give you access to a free arena ticket. That's all I got for you today.